Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there, welcome back.
So, now we're going to go down a different rabbit hole, and maybe this is one you're not familiar with, although some of the topics I'm sure will be familiar. And this is a person, as you can see here, Jacobo Grinberg, disappeared. He disappeared. Who was this guy that just disappeared? December 1994. Do you know where you were? A scientist discovered how to manipulate reality. 12 hours later, he vanished. His lab was emptied, his research erased, his body never found. Never found. Some say the CIA disappeared him. Some say his experiment failed. His final warning will haunt you. And this is Darshak Rana, who does such a nice job putting these together. Meet Jacobo Grinberg. No ordinary scientist. He was a psychologist and a consciousness reader. He explored telepathy and extraocular vision. He bridged ancient shamanic wisdom and quantum physics. But what he discovered shook the foundations of reality itself. And I do visualize Cindy and myself as modern shamans. And in so many ways, Cindy is my teacher and guide in this. Dr. Grinberg proposed that reality is not what it seems. We don't just observe the world, we create it. Now, you may have heard that before. So he goes into a little more detail. He believed that our brains interact with an informational matrix, a hologram where perceptions and consciousness merge. He even proved it. In physics, the lattice is the structure that underpins space-time. Grinberg gave this a new meaning. He claimed that by tapping into this lattice through consciousness, we can change space-time itself. That's bending reality is not an illusion. It's just simply a conscious act. His theory was called synergy, a blend of synthesis and energy. Dr. Grinberg's research discovered our brains decode reality, forming a bridge with lattice. The consciousness thought can create changes in space-time. We are participants, not spectators in reality. As you see this here, this paper, going back to 1981, talking about this. This is fun stuff. This is really what, when I first made Evolutionary Energy Arts back in 2017, this is what I was talking about because this is what I was truly led to talk about. It really, what could be more important than understanding how our reality works, right?
Well, you know, and I think there's so much involved when it comes to the 3D reality and spirituality. It's like people tend to want to separate it, but you shouldn't separate it because it's all one. You should pull it in, you know, you should use spirituality to mold your 3D reality. I've always understood that they're not really separate, yet there is this natural want to disdain or push away anything so-called 3D. I mean, that's just what I've seen is like people are really repelled with a lot of 3D stuff, and sometimes they might say something like, I don't know, you know, not knowing that they're too deep in their 3D world, but they're not. You're supposed to be deep in your 3D world and then reach out with spirituality to learn how to mold that 3D world. In fact, I do believe that the controllers are terrified of us stepping into their 3D world because they know that we can change it.
Oh, yeah, because again, we are more expansive than they are. They are locked up into a small zone. And, you know, going back to this article here, the implications astonishing. If the brain's neuronal field syncs with space's energy field, consciousness could affect the very fabric of existence. Think about that, your mind altering the blueprint of reality itself. This theory challenges everything most people know, but the reality is, I know so many of you guys understand this, and really get it. We are literally co-creating our reality. Now, there are other consciousnesses here, separate consciousnesses from ourselves, in a sense, yet there is one consciousness ultimately. But there are these individuated consciousnesses that we would call elemental beings, which I think have been taken out of the picture on purpose. These beings, by their very nature, are foundational to this reality. They're here helping your experience. This is what their purpose is. There is to support the experience. It's like, just think about going to Universal Studios, right? You walk into Universal Studios, oh my God, what are we going to do first? This is so exciting. Well, the elemental beings are the ones that are making all these different rides, different experiences to experience, and they're keeping them going, and they're making sure everything is working properly as it should. If they weren't there, you wouldn't be having the experience, and that's how key they are to this reality. And again, when we look to what the system has done, is turned everything into demons that you can't see, or they're angels serving some being that has a vested interest in humans, but doesn't always seem to be very benevolent. No, again, this is part of how we've been led astray, because they can't have you realizing you are the person that's creating your reality. At the same time, there are other people creating their reality. And yes, it's not that never the twine shall meet, according to the old book there. Quite the opposite. These realities are interacting all the time, and they're intertwining, and they're bouncing off of each other, and they're also acting synergistically together. So it is a very, very complicated web that's woven. And at the same time, in some ways, it's very, very simple, because we can see that at the smallest level, these subatomic particles are simply waiting for you to decide if you're going to turn this group on, or you're going to turn that group on. In what manner are you going to turn them on? I've shared in the past, and I want to share again, when I was a little boy, and I was going to school for the first year, and we had Christmas vacation, and I was blessed, I got some toys that I really, really wanted. I didn't want to go back to school. I mean, I know it happens with kids all the time. You don't want to go back to school from Christmas vacation. So what happened? I got sick. I got a cold. And, I told my mom, I don't feel good. I got to stay home. Well, you do seem to be running a temperature. Okay, so, then perhaps a little bit different than most kids, this voice in my head is saying, you did it, you made yourself sick. And that little voice wasn't me. It was one of my guides, just saying that. Then at the same time, when I was around 13 or so, I had strep throat. And, what the voice said too was, you can overcome this. I felt sick as a dog. And, again, that's the guides talking to us. They are always talking to us all the time. Most don't hear them. Or if they do hear them, most think it was me. I'm talking to myself. I'm having this inner conversation. Cindy talks to herself all the time. And that's really a blessing, because she's really interacting with this crew that is having, they're setting the table. They're literally setting the table for her experience. And we can interact with them. And when we're outside of the dark Kali Yuga, that interaction is consistent and constant, and it's something that is understood much more. That, these beings are there to help you have the best experience you can. Now, the higher self might have made that experience be one of trial and tribulation. So, it might not seem like the best when challenges arise. Yet at the same time, you, because you are in this experience, are there to learn and grow. So it has to be as real as possible. It has to be as all-encompassing as possible. How do you know, that something is, really important? And how do you know what is perhaps, not necessarily a mistake, because I don't really think there are mistakes, so to speak. I think everything is a learning experience. Well, again, it's what does it make you feel like? That is so key, because emotions should never be, they should never be things that we are trying to necessarily just brush off as being unimportant and not as important as critical thinking. No, quite the opposite. I think the emotions are the clue often to what you have decided before you put the veil of this illusion on, so to speak, and decided to have the amnesia to be fully absorbed in the situation. Those emotions are dead giveaways.
Well, they're definitely marker posts for what we need to work on and what we need to figure out. They're energies that point toward traumas, or they're energies that point toward doing really well and being happy. So we definitely should pay attention to them, see where they're coming from. Are they coming from a traumatized point of view, or are they coming from, a regular point of view? It's so important to heal so that we can get a baseline of who we really are, so we know ourselves. As soon as you know yourself, then you can understand the other beings that are trying to reach out and talk to you. They're easier to formulate for you. They're easier to separate and understand. But at the same time, it's when you understand that we are all one is when you can really start having these conversations with them.
Absolutely. Grinberg's work mirrored the implicate order theory by physicist David Bohm. I've read some of his work describing space as a holographic sea of potentialities, exactly where the universe and consciousness unfold together. But Grinberg's ideas could explain non-locality, instant connections beyond space, because it is truly a construct that is being manipulated and formulated by our very thoughts. So he didn't just theorize, he experimented. Dr. Grinberg conducted telepathy tests, proving that two meditating brains could sync. Yes, absolutely. Showing identical brain patterns without physical connection. He called this phenomenon transferred potential, TP, but there's more. And again, all this is just a given when you read the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, again, thousands of years old. In the East, they understood what our theoretical physicists, our nuclear physicists and scientists over here in Western society are getting in the last 100 years, 120 years or so. Was just known over in the East and was openly talked about, because again it didn't have to be hidden like in the Western system, which has dominated our global society, and this is part of again the power structure, how things have to go underground, so to speak. And this is why we also have Hermetic philosophy, we have the works of the Gnostics, we have Kabbalah in the West as well. It's all right there, and it is all mind stuff. Grinberg's fieldwork with Mexican shamans revealed astonishing abilities. They could see without eyes, heal with just intention, and manipulate reality. He believed these practices showed a highly neurosynergetic brain capable of altering the hologram itself. Imagine having a brain so synchronized it warps reality. Grinberg's studies hinted at a chilling conclusion. We inhabit a matrix, absolutely. Not just metaphorically, but as an energetic construct shaped by collective thought. And mastering it meant transcending it. This raised profound questions. If reality is an interactive hologram, how do we access deeper truths? Could full mastery over the matrix mean dissolving into a pure state of being beyond this plane? Grinberg believed so, and then something mysterious happened. Again, when you look at this is pure Buddhist thought. Of course, as thousands of years roll by and different groups, different sects develop within the framework of what we would call Buddhism, for instance, you'll have slightly different opinions develop. But, foundationally, absolutely. Again, there's so much wisdom to be found in the East or in the West in the mystery traditions. December 8th, 1994, Dr. Jacobo Grinberg vanishes. No signs of struggle, no evidence, nothing. His wife claimed innocence. Investigators were baffled. Rumors flew. CIA involvement? Rivalry? Abduction? A self-experiment gone wrong, but there's more. Wow, did he just dissolve himself into the field? His final paper contained this warning: when you understand how the lattice works, you may simply disappear. Whoa, was this a prediction, a warning, or did he find the ultimate escape key? We may never know. But the implications of his work are enormous. It blurs the line between science and mysticism, showing that the mind's potential might be limitless. Reality is programmable. Consciousness shapes space-time. We're all connected through the lattice. Ancient shamans knew this all along, absolutely. And here at the end, Darshak offers his free ebook again. He's a great guy here at X that covers some of the real fascinating, a little bit more obscure ones that you might not see millions of videos touching on. But again, the truth here is just, it's outstanding. Now I asked Cindy, can you find him? Because she could usually find pretty much everybody that's passed on, and this was curious.
It was curious because there was nothing there, so his disappearance is being shielded completely. And usually I get some type of feeling in my body because I feel for those, my body just does things. It's involuntary, but I know what these things mean. And I got nothing, and that just doesn't happen to me. I didn't see blackness. I didn't feel anything. So it's shielded, but who's shielding it?
Yeah. So, this is fascinating. And there are many other articles out there that you can read about this, talk about the life of, again, Dr. Grinberg and his mysterious disappearance. He's never come back to this day. I wonder where he is. Maybe he found an escape, way to escape the Matrix.
Maybe.
Yeah, things are not always as they appear.
No, they're not.
Do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com. If you need to make an appointment, please allow about 3 weeks, three or 4 weeks right now to get on the schedule. Much love, source bless, and namaste.
Namaste.